Hey guys, what's going on? Good to see all of you tonight. All right, I guess you to see me. I guess let me turn this off here. All right, who we got here in the house? We got Eric Gurman. Beautiful day. Finally had the blizzard. Very impressed. I already want another one, Eric. That is a common side effect of having the legendary frosted animal cracker blizzard from Dairy Queen. So I'm glad you got to experience that. Great, congratulations on being the first comment tonight. Amy, a happy Thursday. Beef stew for dinner. I had minestrone for dinner, so sort of the same thing. Hi, Sherry. And Joyce Koenig is in the house. The party may begin. Yes, and when we finally get back to normal, we'll have a reunion sometime, whenever that's going to be. So, yeah. Hello, birds. Glad you're here. Hi, Crystal, and happy birthday, Bill. 27, Bill. Is that what it is today? 27. Congratulations. Let's see. Dave and Amy Jessen are here. Hi, Christina. Hi, Cheryl. It is one beautiful evening out there, no doubt. Hello. Yes to Animal Cracker Blizzard. Now a fan, Miriam. You're welcome. And glad you were able to have that wonderful experience. Hey, Angie Myers. Yes, we could do for a couple of weeks of this weather, as far as I'm concerned. Very good. Hey, Marge Tangeman. Beautiful day. Glad to have you. Hey, Suze. Linda Horn. How you doing? Hi, Tim Dickey. Let's see there. Doug and Margie are here. Hi, Marcia and Joe. And all right, good deal. So, all right. Well, tonight will be our last of this series of evening live streams. We're going to transition to once a week for a while here and kind of see how that goes. So we'll be setting up to be here on Wednesday nights. So this is not the end. We're just going to let Pastor Tim have an evening at home once in a while. So we're going to be back here next Wednesday. And here's what I want you to think about. You've got 56 minutes of watching me talk. So during these 56 minutes, if your mind starts to wander, here's what I want it to wander to. I would like to know what you might like to do for these live streams on Wednesday nights. You want to go topics, you want to go scriptures, you want to go Sunday reflection, sermon, reflection, talk about Sunday, past Sunday coming up. What appeals to you? You want to pick a topic? You want to have a Q&A where you guys can all get on here and just throw random questions at me and watch me figure out what the answer is. See if you could stump me at Bible trivia. That would be a futile exercise, but you can try that if you want. And so whatever. So if you guys got something you want to make a suggestion, I'll be hearing those throughout the evening. And because I'd like to plan something, these discussions are great. I'm not getting you wrong, but if we're transitioning to once a week, I would, at least for the time being, for the rest of the summer, I would like to just have something you guys would enjoy. So give some thought to what that might be. Again, I'm open to consider anything, but so that's where we are. Let me do one quick thing here real fast. All right. Hey, Trina Childs, Tim and Candy are almost in the house. We'll say close will count for tonight. Hey Val Cisco. Amy says, how about a church member takeover? we can do that. So, cover Revelation in one night. Oh dear, that would be Mike and Tina. That would be a big. That'd be a big one. Try to tackle in one evening. So. All right, trying to get back to my. Oh, what's this? I'm on the wrong page. Hold on here. Hold on here. I'm trying to get my devices to all talk to each other like they're supposed to, which they don't always like to do. I had to read the chapter tonight on my computer rather than on my device here, and I'm trying to get them now to load to each other because I promised we would start with "Don't Go Be" because that's what we suggested. So, Be nice to expand and talk about the messages from the previous Sunday. Fun to explore Moses. We could do that. We could do some work on Moses. We could look back and then look ahead. We certainly could do that because I'll be doing the work. So I'll be glad to bring that out. All right. First John's letters. Yeah, Beth. Phil did some work with that with the youth group, and First John is a pretty good book. We're actually looking at that in our Saturday morning men's group too, doing some studying on First John. So, yeah, First John is a good one to look at. So, all right. Well, you guys kick out your ideas there, and we'll kick those around and kind of see what we want to do. It's my official hire date today for Otterbein. Well, geez, Val, that's fantastic. Congratulations. Hey, everybody give a what up to Val over in the comments for getting a new job. Congratulations, Val. And I'm sure Otterbein can literally use all the help they can get. So, and they can certainly use good help like yours. So, good job, Val. And we're all proud of you. So, all right. And now that you have a new job, I need to borrow some money too. I feel like I should throw that in there. So, all right, cool. All right, so I promised Cheryl Miller last night that we would start with "Don't Go Be," so that's where we are. Don't go be. That's where we are, and I'm on page. I don't know why the page numbers aren't on here. Why did my page numbers say that? My page numbers back. I used to have page numbers on here, and now I don't anymore, and I don't like it. Oh, hold on. Hold on. Oh, I got page numbers back. Everybody, yes. All right, I now know I'm on page 219. So sweet. Yes, I have page numbers back. So hey, so on page 219, don't go be. And the very first line there that he says, I'm telling you right now, is the biggest misunderstanding of the experience of going church that has ever happened in the history of ever. Okay, the very first sentence under "Don't Go Be." I'm going to read this sentence to you, and even though it personally hurts my heart to say it, because this misconception is so prevalent, held by so many people, does so much damage, and it drives me crazy. It makes me nuts. And here it is. Ready? Too many people. Church is a place. That is the biggest fake, false, nothing thing that's ever been said. Church is not a place. Now, we may refer to the building where I am sitting here at the current time. We can refer to this as a church, but I'm telling you right now, church is not a place. And if you allow church to become a place, you are cheating the whole experience. And a place you go is like a park. A place you go is like a grocery store. A place you go is like a movie theater. Y'all remember those? When you go to the movie theater, and for those of you who may not remember because it's been so long, what do? You go in, you buy your ticket, you go up to the concession stand and pay way too much money for popcorn, and then you go sit in this big theater, and on this huge screen with this awesome sound system, they play a movie for you to enjoy while you eat your popcorn, and there are so many trailers beforehand that your popcorn is gone by the time the movie starts. For those of you who forgot, that's what it was like going to the movies. Nobody would say, like sitting here tonight, none of you, there's 29 of you logged in here right now. Not one of you thought, oh, you got my text at 6:26 this afternoon, and you said, oh, Pastor Tim's going to be online. I'm going to the movies at 8 o'clock because I'm going to watch Tim's head talk to me for an hour, right? Nobody mistakes this for going to the movies, okay? And I don't want you to because it's not the same experience. It's a place. The movie, when I say we're going to the movies, it's a place. All right, if I say we're going to the Memorial Park down here and I'm going to, sit in the gazebo, that's a place. If I'm going to go say I'm going to go out and take a run on the towpath, that's a place. Okay, y'all know what those places are. If I say church, yeah, y'all get an image of a place. You shouldn't, that shouldn't be. Church is an experience. Church is a way of living. Church is a part of being involved in the community. It's a part of representing Jesus outside of outside of wherever you're at. And And I think that's an important distinction, because if you allow church to be a place, then you just go there and do church and then you leave, just like the movie. When the movie was over, what do? You supposedly pick up your trash and you walk out. That ain't church, okay? If you leave church, or you don't have to do church again for, 7 days now, or 6 days, or 6 days and 23 hours or whatever, that's doing it wrong. Church should be a part of who you are. And and so if look, I'm not saying you're bad for using these words, because words are words, but it's the concept behind them that can get you in trouble. If you say I'm going to church and now I'm leaving church and that kind of stuff, it's again, words are words, whatever. But at the end of the day, if that's what you're actually doing, or that's how you conceive of it, and you compartmentalize your life that way, church is not going to mean a whole lot to you. It's going to become a place we go and a place that we leave, and it may or may not come with us. And that doesn't lead to transformation. So, all right, here we got a few comments I missed. Val says, all these are selling money trees. How much is a money tree? And what do I have to pour into it to make it grow? Joe says, can we study all the Blizzard flavors of DQ? No, we cannot study all of them. Now, there's one we may be able to do some in-depth study on, but we're not studying all of them. And, I would say the Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse happen to love Frosted Animal Cracker Blizzards. That's a little-known fact. So, movie theaters open tomorrow. Is that true? I honestly, I did not know that. Candy is in the house. Tim will be in the house soon. Okay, very good. And walking out of churches out into the mission field. Yeah, we actually have a sign that says that right out by the main doors out there. So, something to think about. It's about the mindset you have around going to church and what that means, because it gives us the mindset to say, and listen to some of these things. And any of you who may have been, what they call church shopping, or have ever talked to anybody who's been church shopping, you probably have heard these kind of things. Now, listen to me. Going to church, or conceiving of church as a place, sometimes results in these kind of motivations. Somebody will say, I'm looking for a church that meets my needs. I need a good church that will help me. I'm looking for something that has music I like, a preacher I like, a setting I like, a sanctuary I like, a location I like, the times I like. I don't know. I mean, there's absolutely a gazillion details that can go into that. But it's like everybody walks in with a bunch of check marks, and they, check the boxes. All right, donuts are pretty good, and the bathrooms are well located, and all this. That's just us being consumers, folks, and that's a mindset we're going to have to get away from. Because what do consumers do? Well, as the name would suggest, they consume. And once everything is consumed, then there's nothing left. So if I say, when I stand up in front and I'm trying to tell everybody that giving should be one of the biggest expressions of your Christian faith, consumers are like, give? What the heck is he talking about? I don't give. I'm here to consume. Consume the music, consume the sermon, consume the wallpaper, consume the carpet, consume the pulpit, consume the whatever. The snack table. I mean, come on now. Let's hear it for the snacks, right? But that's what I'm here to do, is consume. Consuming and giving are opposites. The opposite of consuming is giving. The opposite of giving is consuming. So if we go to church with a consumer mentality, and the insane guy up front keeps talking about how we need to do all this giving stuff, that's not going to resonate. Your desire and the desired response are two very different things. You come in looking for something that is not necessarily supposed to happen. That's why so many people, an embarrassing amount of people, have been going to church for years, and they still qualify for what we used to call back in the 90s seekers. You've been around doing this as long as I have. Do you remember the term seekers? We're having seeker-sensitive worship, and we don't use church terms, and it's one of those things that we used to to try to get the unchurched in here. Well, unfortunately, that was back in the 90s. We're what, 20 years later? And we have people who are still seekers after 20 years. Friends, if you ain't got found yet, there's a problem. And the only way that's going to happen is through growth and discipleship and adversity and giving. Why did Jesus talk so much about generosity? Because it's in giving that the giver gets transformed. That's it. Jesus never gave a whole lot of concern to people receiving. It was all about people giving. And I think about that. I mean, as many of you know, I had a funeral today. I was up in Lima. I was up in Lima all day. I was kind of detached from all my normal news outlets and things that I read because I was up there taking care of that. And I jumped in the car and I was coming home. In fact, I just pulled in the Beatles out in the parking lot. And I had some news on in my car. Did you guys know that some protesters have actually taken over a few blocks in Seattle and seceded from the country? They're now the country of, I forget the name of it, CISO or something. I don't know what it was, but they've actually seceded from North America, seceded from the United States. And there's like a 6-block radius. And they did that yesterday, and they're already begging for food. They've run out of food already because all the homeless people came in and ate it all. I mean, who saw that coming? They had this list of demands about all this stuff. That's what happens when we got a bunch of seekers trying to run the show. That's exactly what's going on there. That they are conducting a social experience. They're conducting a social experiment that I'm praying nobody dies in the midst of, because that is, I don't know, that this whole world is just losing its mind. But that's what I think about. And we got too many people in churches who are doing that exact thing. Yes, we're not doing it as dumb as they are, but in practice, it's coming out much the same way. It's about people who have this list of demands that they want with no explanation as to where any of the resources or any of the stuff's going to come from, because all they want to do is consume. That is exactly what we see going on out in Seattle, is consumption. And they were just consuming everything. They seceded into their own nation and ate up all their resources in less than one day. That's church. We have people who are coming here, and if they don't come with a mentality to give, they only come with a mentality to consume. We don't even get to mission. We've already consumed all the resources. We've consumed as much as leaders and servants are able to do. We've consumed all that. And it's just, it's difficult to deal with that. And sometimes the church can get to be that way. The people that we're serving are the people who are coming, and that is exactly not what's supposed to happen. But since we're all consumers and we're so trained to be consumers, we go to the church to be taken care of, which is 100% in opposition to what the church was set up to do. I get this feeling a lot in administration meetings where we just totally lose sight of what it is we're supposed to be doing. And through the years, I've been in a lot of meetings where I'm like, guys, we're missing the point here. And that's something that is a big danger. And that's what this whole going to church mentality comes from, is we set ourselves up as the ultimate consumers. And it's a sad situation. So now, one of the things he talks about, I'm on page 220 now. I'm in the paragraph. Actually, it's one sentence. It's kind of its own paragraph. Here's a question I want to put to you guys here tonight. And I want you to jump in the comments and answer this question for me. So there are 27 of you in here. I really would like to hear from some of you on this question. This is Craig's question, not Tim's. He says, have you ever considered what if the church really does need you? Have you ever considered what if the church really does need you? Not wants you, not welcomes you, not is glad to see you, needs you. Have you ever stopped to think about that before? Anybody ever given that a thought? Thought about the church needing you? The mission of the church and the potential of the church and the health of the church. needs you to achieve those goals. Because one of the things that nothing needs in the world, nothing ever needs a consumer. Nothing ever needs a consumer. Even Walmart doesn't need a consumer. Even McDonald's doesn't need a consumer. Yes, stuff gets consumed while they're there. Products and food get consumed, but there's also an exchange of money. It's a trade, not a consumption. So, in actuality, when you go to McDonald's and you pay your bill and you eat your cheeseburger, that's a zero-sum game. You're giving up something and they're giving up something. That's not consumption. Consumption is when you go in and eat everything or consume everything that's there, and and then leave, I guess, when it's all done. And that's something that many of you need to think about. Yes, we need you, but not to be a consumer. We have lots of churches, and I don't mean Wayne Street specifically, but churches around the world, and many of the churches I've served are filled with consumers. And that's why the church has such a hard time, fulfilling our mission, is because all of our time, talent, and energy is all consumed before we go out and meet the first unchurched person. And that makes us fall short of our goal. And okay, so Christina, that's a new idea for you. And it's true, though. Joyce says, church is where we share our gifts. Why else would we have them if not for that, Joyce? You're exactly correct. Tim says, so what do we say to those who are looking to be fed, who say Jesus told the disciples to feed his sheep? Yes. Here's what we say to them. The sheep are to be fed so that they can grow into shepherds. That was Jesus's point. It wasn't about this endless consumption. It was about empowering people to do what they do so they can contribute with their spiritual gifts that everyone has. Too many people come in here and consume, and then they go out in the world and give what they got, not here. And that is going to end up us with nothing. And so I pray that people won't do that. That our idea of feeding doesn't mean we have to feed the same sheep week after week after week after week after week. And, for years on end, until you've got people who've been in church for 30 years and they can't even, say a little prayer with children before they drink their juice boxes. That's not good. So Candy says, yes, we're to be hands and feet of Christ. Well said. Anna Kay says, no, I haven't. I guess I look at, there are things at church that I can do to help a little in reverse, maybe help a little in reverse. Yeah, but those little things add up, Anna Kay, especially when there's over 300 of you. Yes, we have people on the BLT. Yes, we have people in leadership. Yes, we have staff. Yes, we have all of these things. But we struggle to keep up with the demand is if all we're doing is creating more and more and more and more consumers. We need servants. Just like McDonald's need workers. If McDonald's went and gave everybody cheeseburgers for free, McDonald's ain't gonna stay in business very long. Well, the church is the same way. If everybody comes in as a consumer and nobody wants to give, nobody wants to serve, it's really hard to maintain that because we're going to run out of resources and people amazingly fast. So, Val Cisco, yes, needs me to help spread. Yes, and to be involved, Val, the church certainly does need that. And who deleted the message? Christine, I didn't see what the message was. Yeah, and okay, yeah. And I think that's what we get to is an idea of we don't understand, and then what happens is we have a church full of consumers. Let me tell you what the logical end of this is. We have a church full of consumers, which means they want programs and they want ministries and they want facilities and they want additions and they want reputation and they want presence in the community, but they don't want to do anything to accomplish that. But they still expect it to happen. You know what those churches say about their pastor? I'll tell you exactly what they say. They want all this stuff, but they don't want to do anything to facilitate it happening. And then they say all he does is preach about money. Of course he does. You have all these expectations and nobody's given anything. Yes, we're going to need something in order to be able to give something. And if you don't want to, participate and be a servant and give and support, then yes, you're going to have to be reminded. And that's where the spiritual gift of generosity comes in, is because what that does is it prevents the people from getting burnt out. It prevents, like Cheryl says there, 20% of the people doing 80% of the work. I honestly think those percentages are even farther apart than that, to be entirely honest with you, in most churches. And but that's what it is, and you've heard people say this. In fact, we read about it in this chapter. People are like, all the preacher wants to do is talk about money. Yet you come in with all these expectations, but you give no resources and no time to enable them to happen. You expect them to happen, but you have no responsibility in making them happen because you're a consumer. All right. Who's following me? Does it make sense to anybody what I'm saying? This is what the problem with going to church and the whole idea that church is compartmentalized in this one little area of your life. That's where the problem comes from, is the fact that you have all these expectations, but no, you never, ever get to the point of serving, where you become a seeker for years, trying to decide if this is what I want to do, if this is the church that makes me happy, or if there's another church up the street that might do it better. And that is a real problem. It's a real thing. And we need to understand that as soon as our expectations surpass our commitment, we're in trouble. Now, you can go through seasons where you're going to expect a little more. I entirely get that. If you have a family member pass away, the church is going to come around you and help you. Okay? Absolutely. Absolutely, that's going to happen. But only for a while. Okay? The idea is you're going to have to come back in and contribute in whatever way God enabled you to contribute. But you have to give something, because, again, if you do nothing but consume, there very quickly will be nothing left. And that's the danger of the consumerist mentality, is there's nothing left for mission because the members eat everything. So, all right, very good. Okay, so to go on with the idea of the church needing you, which is true, by the way. The church needs you to be a participant in whatever way you can. Let's see what my note is here. I'm now on page 220. I'm in the paragraph that starts in 1 Corinthians 12 to 27, and he does some quoting there. I'm about, 2/3 of the way through that paragraph. He says, if I'm using my gifts in church, and if I don't do what I was made to do, then the whole body suffers as a result. Have you ever thought about that? If God sent you to, we're just going to use Wayne Street. God sent you to Wayne Street to fulfill a certain task, and you don't. Do you see how everyone suffers? Even if your task was setting out the cookie table on Sunday morning, even if it's just something like that, and I'm not downplaying that, cookies are important, but that was your job, and if you don't do that, or you don't contribute that, do you see how everybody suffers? Again, Moses is an excellent example of that. We've been reading Moses in church the last couple of weeks. Moses is a great example of a guy who, and we're going to start reading this starting on Sunday. Moses gave up a lot. In fact, more than you probably realize, to go back and fight for God's people. And we're going to begin. I'm not going to give anything away because I'm giving the sermon away, but we're going to talk about that on Sunday. What it cost Moses to do this thing, and it was a lot. Again, more than you probably realize. And we're going to set the stage for that on Sunday when we either get together in First Light in the sanctuary or out at Awaken in the parking lot. But we're going to have that conversation. And I invite you to think about that, how important contributions are and how contributions are not free. And I'm not just talking about money. Yes, money's a part of it, but it's about everything. The unique gifts. So often we think that, if I can't preach a sermon, or I can't teach a class, or I can't sing a song, I don't have anything to contribute. Yeah, because running the sound system involves in that. Yes, clicking the computer and running PowerPoint shows, involved in that. Again, putting cookies on a plate. Throwing a real sacrificial offering into the offering plate is part of that. Helping out at the mission project, which I'm praying to God we get back to that at some point, where we're doing work around town where we can be visible. I pray we get to that. All those are things that need to be done. And just because you can't preach a sermon like somebody who's has 20 years of experience and is well trained to do this, like I am, and some Sundays I actually might hit on something. Just because you haven't been able to do that, or your calling isn't that, doesn't mean you have nothing to contribute. Just because you can't play music like Daryl and Gene, or like Josh, or sing like April and Leah, I mean, that doesn't mean you got nothing to contribute, guys. There's a lot more. And believe me, as a guy who sees everything that goes on behind the scenes, I can tell you there's a lot more going on than just that stuff. Yes, that's the out front stuff that everybody sees, but oh my gracious word, there's a lot more that goes on, especially if we can ever get back to doing stuff again. There's a lot more going on than just those very, very public things that we're talking about there. And I'm thinking of, the folks who work with Operation Christmas Child. I mean, let's throw that one out there. There's a lot of people who fill boxes that may not seem like a big deal, but let me tell you something. To some kid somewhere, that makes a great impact on a child's life. And that's what makes Operation Christmas Child so great, in that you can have the worst stage fright on the earth and still participate fully in that one. You can be as tone deaf as I am and still contribute to that one. And there's a lot of other things out there who just the smallest things, you'd be surprised how fulfilling those things can be. Even if it's who's talking about greeting. Val, talking about greeting. Yeah. Look, there are people who go a whole week, like this guy right here, go a whole week without having somebody be glad to see him. Okay? That's great to walk in here and have somebody say, you know what? I'm glad you're here. You don't have any idea what that could do for folks. And it's not that big of a deal to you, but to that person, it could be a big deal. And, it's exciting to have that. Tim Dickey, he's putting it out there. He says, a few people who know how to wash a dish. That doesn't seem like a big deal until you realize that those dishes then serve cookies to somebody who just might need a cookie. Come on. And so those opportunities, again, not huge in scope, not earth-shattering. We're never going to have we're never going to make a movie about that. But look, these things matter. And it takes all of us. I one time did a children's sermon back when I was at Westwood, 20 years ago. And the children came forward, and I had everybody said this was shameless self-promotion, which you all know I have no problem with that. And there was probably, 30 or 40 kids up front. I gave them all one of my business cards. And I said, okay, everybody, all you kids, run through the congregation and hand somebody one of those business cards. And I took my business, and I took one also. So all the kids ran out, like pandemonium in the church, handed out these business cards all around, and I handed out one. So I came back up to the front, and I said, okay, kids, watch this. I said, all right, if I handed you a business card, put up your hand. Well, obviously one person did, because I only handed out one. And then I said, if you received a business card, put up your hand. And like 50 people raised their hands. I said, look how much more influence we can have when we're working together. It's the same business card. It's the same message. But if I can get people to assist me in putting it out there, I can't even say it gets easier. It just, the expanse of the influence grows exponentially. And that's an important thing for us to see. It's the same God, folks. Whether you tell somebody or I do, whether you tell somebody or they hear the Awaken band sing about it, or you tell somebody and Daryl and Gene lead music about that, it's the same God, folks. And if everybody's doing their part, the kingdom grows, darkness fades. Despair is not allowed to be around. And remember, we talked about it. Hope is the great inoculator against despair. It makes us immune to hell. That's what hope does. And that's why all of us working together to spread that hope is so amazingly important. So if God gave you the gift of washing a dish, like Tim said, man, scrub that dish for Jesus, right? And I'm not being funny by saying that. That's really the way we need to look at it. And I think we would be much more the range of our influence would be much greater if we could get people to do that rather than compartmentalizing their lives like so many people do now to just heartbreaking degrees. So okay, I'm going to skip over now to page 221 because obviously we're, as you all already suspected, we're not getting through all this tonight. I want to go over to the part that says extreme church. I'm on page 221, if for those of you following along. In that opening paragraph there, I don't know, about a third of the way through, he's talking about Pentecost, which is the story told to us in Acts chapter 2. In Acts chapter 2, there was it was the first church service. It was what we call the birthday of the church. Like today's Bill's birthday. Well, Pentecost was the church's birthday. It's when the church, as we know it today, was born. It was the first instance. Now, they had temple and they had worship services before, but the idea of the church as we know it today was created on Pentecost. And if you want to read about what happened and how awesome that was, go read Acts chapter 2. It's a really great thing where 3,000 people were converted in one day, and the world was never the same since. So one of the things that the believers did in a response to Pentecost is they didn't see church as a place. They, according to what Craig says here, and I absolutely agree with him, is church was the center of their lives. Church wasn't where they went. Church is what they were. And they saw themselves as belonging to the church. Now, you tell me, do people today have a desire to belong? Oh, my word. That desire is, I don't know if it's ever been more prevalent than what it is today. It's online groups. It's people joining the seceded nation up in Seattle, Washington. It's people rioting and protesting because they want to belong to something. And all this woke stuff that's going on out there where you have to, deny science and claim all this, whatever their mantra is and all this stuff. That stuff is out there, and it's out there because people want to belong, desperately want to belong. And I think that's why Pentecost and the birth of the church was so powerful, is that so many people belonged. Jump in the comments and tell me, what was the big miracle at Pentecost? Come on, my Bible scholars. What was the big miracle at Pentecost? What happened? What happened at Pentecost? There was a very significant event that took place. What was it? What was it? The miracle at Pentecost was... I know somebody here knows it. Come on. What was the miracle at Pentecost? The pouring out of the Holy Spirit that resulted in something. Your partial credit, Eric. It resulted in something specific. What happened when the Holy Spirit was poured out? Something happened. Flames of fire on the head, yes. And then what did they do? What was the miracle at Pentecost? Something happened. When the Holy Spirit was poured out, the flaming fire above their heads, they did something. What did they do? Anybody remember? They spoke in tongues. That is exactly correct. See, the people who were there were all from different nationalities. They spoke different languages. And in that moment, they were able to, okay, you guys got it there. They were able to speak to each other for the first time ever. People who prior to that had never been able to talk to each other before, at least not clearly, not like I'm speaking to all you English speakers out there now. The language barrier was removed for a short time. And all of a sudden, everybody's like, we're all one people now. What a powerful experience is that? They had Google Translate long before Google was a thing, right? So they were all able to understand each other because of the power of the Spirit. Why? Because there was a great sense of belonging. The Holy Spirit had fostered and created a community. And in that community, the divisions were destroyed. What a beautiful image. That's where the church came from. Now, we have been totally divided on every issue ever since, but that's where we started, is about how all those divisions were taken away. and we were able to be a community in a way we had never been able to be a community before. And I will contend that the church still represents that. Now, we're called names and accused of all kind of stupid crap that we don't do all the time. But I will contend that there is no organization on the planet that is cross-cultural and cross languages and cross everything else like Christianity. And I know that the devil is trying to tell everybody that we're the great dividers and we're the haters and whatever. That's just lies that Satan is telling people in the world. We have been the great uniters always, and we still are. So when things like police brutality and injustice and oppression, we have categorically through the years said nope. Now, we may not have always said it as strongly as we should have, but we have back during the Civil War days, the United Methodist Church was very much opposed to slavery, and we were very much opposed to the treatment of the Jews prior to World War II. Very much opposed to all these things. We were never in favor of any of that. And we taught our people to, I can't say across the board, but officially, we taught our people not to be in favor of that. To this day, I may make fun of the protesters because I think they've lost their mind, but the original thing that motivated them about police brutality, I'm absolutely opposed to that in any form it may ever take. And I don't think that should ever happen. Now, we can debate on what the response to that should be, but I do not believe that any powerful person picking on a weaker person, I don't think that there's ever a case where that's justified, ever. And we teach our people that. And in doing that, we create communities where we say there are certain things we will not tolerate. And we stand against them. And we declare them as wrong, and that's a good thing. And those are uniting messages because look, most common sense people realize that police officers attacking handcuffed and unarmed people, pretty sure that 99.999% of the entire world says no. I don't care what his motive was. We are never tolerating that. Period. Under any circumstances, anytime it ever happens, that person gets a life sentence or whatever. I'm totally in for that. And I just think it's from the fact that we were born out of such unity, how we can have such disunity today is so contrary to our purpose. And it breaks my heart. It really does. Because I love the church. And I think that, with all of our imperfections, which there are plenty of, the capital C church is one of the greatest things that God ever gave us. And we need to be good stewards of it in this day and age so that children coming up behind us will have that church like we've all loved. I think that's our role, is to be good stewards of the gospel and make sure that church, and I'm not talking about brick and mortar buildings. I'm talking about the church universal, the idea of church, the connection of church, the fellowship of church, the joy of church. Is our job to make sure those things continue by making the church be the center of our lives and not being shy about that. Okay. He continues on talking about Pentecost and Acts. I'm now over on page 222. He says, the last sentence here in this paragraph, he says, imagine what's possible. Let's take a minute and just think about this. Imagine what's possible if we stop going to church and start being the church. I'm going to tell you right now, we can't find the top end of that because we don't know how far that could go. We don't know how big that could get. We don't know how important that movement could be. Is if we were to, stop going to church and start being the church. If church stopped being a place we go and start being something that we all see ourselves as. And I'm not talking about, you guys see me driving the Beetle home tonight and you picture me with a steeple on top of my head. That's not what I'm talking about. I mean, when you see me, you see the work of the church. You see a brother in Christ. You see somebody that you know and you trust. And I see the same thing when I look at you. And I think that's very important because that builds trust, that builds community, that builds connection, and that furthers the mission for not only our current world, but our future world. That You know, look, every generation thinks the world is just falling apart, but good grief, I don't know if we've ever seen anything like what's going on now. It does make me wonder. All right, everybody, get ready to get in the comments. I'm going to give you a true false. Y'all ready? Here comes a true false question for you. I'm going to read this sentence. I want you to think about it and think if this is true. You ready? True or false? Every need in the church can be met by the church. True or false? Every need in the church can be met by the church. True or false? Every need in the church can be met by the church. That has kind of a ring to it, right? Every need in the church can be met by the church. Okay, I got two trues and a false. All right. Hey, we're getting some debate here. I love it. All right, since we got kind of a tie here going right now, explain your answers. Why do you say true? Why do you say false? I want to know. Why do you say true or false? Everybody get in and explain your answer. Okay, so I got one true since we are the church. Okay. And one false. We still need God. I would agree with that. True because we are the church. Okay. Sometimes we need God to step in. Okay. All right. A couple more of you because now you got me fascinated. A couple more people jump in and talk about this. Why do you say true? Why do you say false? Everybody's really thinking about it now. Why do you say true? Why do you say false? Nobody else wants to say? True. Okay. Sue says true because we are all the church together. If you don't know, we will help find an answer. Okay. I agree with that. False because we need God's help. Okay. All right. Okay. I read that sentence right out of Craig's book, and I think you guys are pretty perceptive, all of you. I see where you're coming from, and I see both sides of this. Okay. Let me tell you, I was going to say true, but let me tell you why. Okay, let me tell you why I was going to say true. I was assuming God's presence in the church. So for all of you who are saying that we still need God, couldn't agree more. I was making the assumption that along with church came God. That's why I said true. Okay, because I was just making an assumption that you're right was not there. So I was conceiving of us as the body of Christ, meaning the presence of Christ must be present, because if all it takes is a gathering of good people to be the church, then Walmart has church because there's good people that go to Walmart. But I don't know that I would look around Walmart and say, dang, look at this church. In fact, I'm quite sure I would not say that. So that's why I was making the assumption of God being a part of the church. I was not taking God out of that equation. So because of that, I was seeing this as a true statement, simply because I was assuming God's presence in the body of the church. And I think with that assumption that I did not make clear prior to this, I believe that's a true statement. I think the church can overcome anything it needs. Not everything it wants. I'm definitely drawing a distinction there, friends. Saturday, I'm going down to do the funeral for a 15-year-old kid. I can tell you beyond any shadow of a doubt that we don't get everything we want, okay? That experience alone proves that to be true. So we can do that. But so it doesn't always give us everything we want, but it can provide for our needs. We love the church. We love God, love people, change the world. Angie quoting the mission statement. That's great. Christina says, using the virus as an example, we need help from local governments. Okay, this is where you and I are going to disagree a lot. Government, in my opinion, in that respect, is stepping in to do the work of the church. I'm only saying that to say, back in the day when the church was the social organization in the community, we could do a lot more work. Like let's say, God forbid, COVID-19 would come to St. Mary's in a very strong way, where we had lots of people down, lots of bad things happening. If the people would come to the church and allow us to, I'm not just talking Wayne Street, but I mean the churches in our community, to oversee, to make sure that needs get met, we could do a much more efficient job than the government could. See, the reason that churches are hurting today is because we now look to government to do what the churches used to do. That's why our taxes are so high, because we're having to pay for things that local communities used to handle on their own. Because now the federal government does so much of that for us. You've got the federal government taking money from certain areas of the country and dispersing it to other areas of the country. Like Ohio, we don't have a lot of natural disasters here, yet we end up helping with disasters in Louisiana because of our taxes. If our taxes weren't quite so high and we were able to invest in our local communities, we could do a lot better here for St. Mary's. And we could send mission teams down to New Orleans. Now, obviously, we wouldn't be able to do what, say, like, I forgot the name of it. The method, UMCOR. We couldn't do what UMCOR can do because they are a United Methodist organization, highly organized, well-funded, and could do some great work. Because I don't own a crane, so if we're gonna need a crane, we're gonna have to figure out. I got the Beetle, but the Beetle can't do crane work. So, but when local communities, today, what's the first thing that happens when something goes wrong? When the riots happened, when the virus hit, when natural disasters happen, what's the first thing we do? Where's the government? Tell the president he's screwing this up, right? It's the first thing we say. It doesn't matter who the president is. Where it used to be, we used to say, how can we band together and get through this? We do not say that anymore. Nope. We have been taught to hate and fear our neighbors, and that is the biggest sin of our modern times. It used to be I saw my neighbor as somebody, if I saw him out in their yard, I'd go over and ask him if I could help. Now I don't even know my neighbor's name anymore. And basically the government's telling me that I'm supposed to be afraid of them because, they may be a who knows what and want to kill me for some reason. I don't know why they want to. I'm a pretty nice guy, but that's what we're taught. Used to be when something went wrong, and I can remember this from actually earlier in my career. So within my generation, I can remember when there was a fire in the community, first thing they do is call the church. We would band together and do something for them. They still hit up the church some, but not like they used to. And that's just within my generation. And I think that instead now when there's a community disaster, we wonder when the government will step in to help, when that used to be a time for us to go learn our neighbors' names and for our neighbors to say, do you remember when that car accident happened and you guys stepped up? Thank you for that. He gives a few examples of that in here, but now we let the government take that from us and do it much worse than we could do. And I'm not blaming government. It's that government has decided that this role is to be savior and protect everyone from everything. And I don't think that's what the government was ever intended to do, is to take away all of our discomfort. In fact, I'm pretty sure that's not what it was designed to do. But that's what we've gotten away from. So now, do we need to fund research agencies through our taxes? Do we mind paying for research and things for vaccines? No, we don't mind that at all, and I'm perfectly happy with the government taking care of that. But when it comes down to providing food and resources and things, local communities are much better at doing that than what we are. We are divided, Christina. That ain't no joke. That is no joke, and it's embarrassing. It really is. Especially going back to Pentecost, where the whole idea of the church was to unite us. Well, the whoever it is out there has lied about us so much that we're apparently the worst organization on earth, and we have to be kept out of everything. And they made Franklin Graham close down his COVID-19 hospital in Central Park because, oh my gosh, it's a Christian organization. Not to mention the fact they were saving lives. Who cares about that? The whole world is dumb anymore. It just drives me crazy. And it just, I don't know. I don't want to get off on this because it gets me all bent out of shape, but it's so bad. I got into this job 25 years ago because I wanted to be the one going out of the community to say, how can I help? When there was a fire, I wanted to be the one to say, how can we put your house back? I wanted to be the one to say, hey, somebody passed away. How can I help? You through this terrible time. That's why I do so many funerals for people I never met. It's because I believe that everybody deserves the dignity of a funeral led by a trained professional. We can debate whether or not that's me, but I'm the one that steps up. And oh no, I'm not saying it never happens, Linda. I'm not saying it never happens. It does happen, but it could happen a lot more than it does if we didn't look to government to help us. And I think small town USA, which I hope it doesn't offend you for me to say that's St. Mary's, we don't look at the government to come help us. They may, FEMA may be here and whatever, but we're real good about taking care of our own. And I think that brings communities together. Look, there's nothing on earth that brings people together like adversity. Why do you think sports teams create such close bonds of friendship? It's because they go through adversity during the game together and they overcome it together, or they fail together. But that builds relationships. And I say that, times of stress and times of challenge in our communities can do the same thing to us instead of us sitting around waiting for the government to come fix it for us. I think we'd be a lot better off. So, okay, and here, all right, this is my last statement on this. I'm on page 223. I'm under the subheading that says a place to belong. Look at that first sentence. Tell me if this doesn't sound like what I've just been saying. He says, while the church meets physical needs, it also provides a place for us to belong. If everybody brings their gifts to this place, we join the body of Christ together. It gives people a place to belong. It also gives us a place to inspire and give hope, to inoculate people against hell. That's what we do. And we're the best at it. I don't care what anybody else tells you. I'm not ashamed to say we do it better than anyone. I don't mean Wayne Street. I mean the Capital C Church. And that's something that we can't allow anybody else to take from us. That's why we do what we do. So, all right, friends. You guys got me all fired up there at the end. I think we have completed this book. You guys enjoy this book? And it's not, the bells are ringing right now. Tim says, I think it evolved that way because the church over time dropped the ball and stopped doing church. Yes, because we had so many consumers eating all our resources before we could go out and use them. So, Tim, I absolutely agree with you. Yeah, this was a very good book. I believe he closes this book with the same story he closed Dangerous Prayers with, I believe. Let's skip ahead here and look. Oh, hang on here. I lost it now. What was I reading? Oh, but the guy who said, my answer is yes. No matter what the question is, my answer is yes. I believe he told that same story in Dangerous Prayers about how the guy was so moved by the Spirit that he went up to the pastor and said, no matter what your question is, it will always be yes. And that's it. Yeah, it's a great story. It's a great ending to this book. So, all right. All right. Well, I'm glad you guys enjoyed this book. And, I'm glad you guys have enjoyed this study so much. We've been doing this for 3 months now. Can you guys believe that? And, well, I don't want to burn you all out on it. Hopefully, maybe we'll see our numbers go up a little bit when we do the Wednesday nights things. Oh, Joyce, you could not possibly be more welcome. Tell me, all right, you've had, your 56 minutes now to think about it. We did mention Moses. What would you guys like to do for next Wednesday? Anybody got a suggestion for what you'd like to do for week to week? And then we don't have to decide tonight. We will do something next Wednesday. I just don't know what it will be yet. Anybody got a suggestion of what you would like to do next Wednesday? If you're interested in doing the sermon stuff from Sunday, I don't know. Maybe that might be overkill too. I'm not sure. But I'll be happy to work up a topic. Or we could just come together and I could talk about it off the top of my head, and you guys can just try to stump me with questions. If you want to do that, we can do that too. Yes, very good, guys. Glad to have you here for it, Candy and Jan. So what do you guys think? What would you like to do? Bible trivia? Let's see if you guys can give me something I don't know. I'm afraid I might do nothing but display my ignorance. That's what I'm a little concerned about. Question and answer might be fun. Let's go instead of Bible trivia, though. You could throw in some Bible trivia, but let's also throw in some theological stuff. You know, some why questions that you've been carrying around for a while. Let's do some of those too. I tell you what, we'll make the first one be a Q&A. We'll kind of see how that goes. Because research your questions. You guys could throw out some Bible trivia if you want. I'll see if I can get some of those. I'm not going to guarantee I'm going to get everything. And you're not allowed to ask me to spell anything because that's not going to happen. Yeah, we can bring. Yeah, if you have, and as part of that Q&A, if you have a scripture that you would like my comment on, bring that. I'd love to do that because I'll have my trusty Bible right here on my desk, and I can flip around and look at those. So if there's a particular scripture that you would like to have me comment on or ask questions about, I'd be happy to do that too. So yes, Sherry, you are most welcome. And thanks, Kevin. Kevin's already getting his trivia questions out. I'm a little scared of that. Scriptures, yes, Tim, if there's any scriptures you got. I love these discussions too, Eric. Absolutely. And thank you, Kevin. So Scott likes trivia. Okay. Yeah, we could discuss the sermon. And if you want to ask questions about the sermon, bring those too. And if you want to talk about stuff the next week, bring those questions too. I'll be happy to discuss any of that stuff. We'll have it be kind of an open forum. And if you want to bring questions about the sermon, I would be very happy to comment on any of that stuff too. So, all right. Well, even though I won't be around for the next couple of nights to tell you that, though, I don't want you to give up what my closing words are, because I still think that's good advice, COVID-19 or not. Clean hands will help you out with all that. Well, friends, I have treasured this time. I appreciate this so much. I hope you enjoy your couple days to let your brain rest a little bit. Drop a thumbs up on this. Thanks, Amy. Drop a thumbs up on this video. I'd appreciate that. I love you all very much. Again, I have thoroughly enjoyed this. Thank you so much for being here, a part of this, spending your evenings with me. I look forward to being here with you next Wednesday, and we'll entertain whatever questions we got. So, yes, I'll see you on Wednesday, Dave. I also hope to see you all on Sunday, whether in the sanctuary for First Light or out in the parking lot for Awaken. Would love to see you guys all be a part of that. Marcia, you're certainly welcome. Thanks, Beth. And, you guys are all welcome. All right, guys. Everybody go have a great night. I love you all. Thank you for spending your evening with me. And now, go wash those hands.